Hi boys and girls. So we talked a little bit about the shapes that we see in the chickadee's body. So before we draw him, we need to get our branch on our page. So I'm going to start on this side and make my branch come all the way across. I don't want to go too close to the top because I want to have room to make a fairly large chickadee here. So I'm going to start about halfway down, maybe a little less than half, and I'm going to go across. And I don't want mine to be too straight because, you know, in nature nothing's like really a stick straight. I like it to kind of bend a little bit and have a few little bends. And I'm going up because I know that I'm going to make this have a little Y right here where it gets skinnier. And then on this side, I know this is the part where my tree, this is coming from the big part of the tree. So I don't know why this is blurry. Because this is where the tree is, I know that the branch would be a little bit bigger here. So I'm going to start a little bit wider. And then slowly, as I come across, I'm kind of following this line. I want it to go down where it goes down and then up. I'm going to kind of get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. And then I'm just going to come straight across because I know what's going to happen here. This looks like I got really big, but I didn't, because I'm going to go back in and I'm going to make this the skinny little branch that came and grew out of this bigger branch. Okay, so I've got my big one and it kind of grows up that way into a bigger one or a littler one. Okay, now I am ready to put my chickadee on the branch in it, and I can see this nice big oval is his body. Actually his head, it looks like it's almost part of that, so I might just do both of those together here. We could do two ovals, or we could do one bigger oval. I think I'm going to do one. Oh, that didn't poof out enough. Now what did I say about draw light till you get it right, didn't I? Yep, and Mrs. Walker's drawing kind of hard so you can see it, but that means mine is kind of hard to erase. Okay, so this looks like kind of his shape. If you want to make his head just a little bit taller, you can put like that. Remember we talked about that oval? You could put that oval on there, but if you do that, you got to erase these two overlap lines because we don't want to see those, and make sure this is kind of straight back here, because when I look at the top of his head, it's kind of a straight line going down his back. And then we talked about the shape that's on his wing. It looks kind of like a kite. So I'm going to go right off of the back of him here and do a diagonal line and then come in at a diagonal. So it looks like I'm making like an ice cream cone almost right here. And then the top is a diagonal, right? So if you turn it this way, you can kind of see a kite shape, right? And then we want to get rid of this line because we would not be able to see his body through his wing, right? When we looked at his wings, if you look at his wings, his body's underneath there. You can't really see it. His wings are what you see. And then underneath his wing, there's that tail feather that goes out like this. And if your tail feather goes over the branch like mine does, be sure to erase the branch so we don't see it, because it wouldn't look right to have that branch line running through there. Okay, and then for his face or his beak, I'm going to put a little triangle here like so. I don't want it to be too big, but I don't want it to be too small, so whatever you think looks right. And then I need a little eye. His eye was just right back of his beak, so I'm going to just right here make an eye. And then I'm going to start with his little cap. Now his cap, remember, it covers the whole top of his head. It even goes a little bit below his eye or down by his eye. But I'm going to come across, and then when I get close to his eye, I'm just going to go up and over. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white line around his eye so we can tell his eye's there. And then underneath his chin, or underneath his beak, there is like that triangle that almost looks like a beard. So I'm going to go in and then come back out like this. Almost like makes a triangle if I just come in and then come down at a diagonal. And it kind of looks like he has a little beard, or he's wearing a little scarf or something, I don't know. And then let's see, there was a little triangle here where his tail was connected to his body, and then his legs, they bend. Our legs bend forward, but birds' legs bend back like this. Okay, and then their talons would be kind of like that, and they're a little bit thicker than just a straight line. So I'm making I might even make that come down a little bit more right there. So he's kind of holding on to this side of the branch. I think he would have two legs though, so this one's going to come down and come over and then have 3 talons. Maybe a back one. I think they have a back one too to help him grab on. Okay. Now, I've got his eye, beak, legs, his talons, his tummy, I think I've got everything there. Cool. And I remembered to mark where the dark places are going to be. So, now we're going to take Sharpies here, and we're just going to use the Sharpie. Hold on a second, I got to grab one. I'll pause it. Okay, I've got my Sharpie. We're only going to Sharpie in the really fine details on our bird. So the fine details would be his beak, and I'm going to separate it into 2 sections and just kind of shade in the top and the bottom, but leave a little bit of a white. Oops, I kind of colored in my white line. I was trying to leave a little white line there so you could tell where they come apart. And then on his eye, here, let me flip this over and talk to you real quick about the eye. His eye is really small, right, like this, but just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to make a giant eye. To make the eye look more realistic, we're going to try to leave a little white crescent in the center and just shade in with the Sharpie all the rest of the circle like this, okay? We're going to leave, if we can, this where the light would be kind of reflecting on his eye, okay? So here we go. Let's flip it back over. It's really small, so I'm going to go around the circle, and then I'm going to just fill in part of it. See how I left just a little bit of white in there? If you can't, oops, I almost closed it in. If you can, leave a little white space in there, okay? And then we're going to do his legs. I'm going to do my legs black, and the talons, because these are really tiny details, and the oil pastels are pretty chunky, and it's pretty hard to get these nice details, this pointed talons and stuff with those. So we're going to just use the Sharpie for the fine details, and then we'll use the oil pastels to do like his cap and his beard. Okay, so once you're done, put the Sharpie away, and then we'll be able to go on to the next step.